Hey everyone, welcome to the Boomer Bites podcast. This is episode 6, and this episode is Freedom to Live Your Best Life is on the line. I don't often talk about politics. I don't usually write, I don't put it in my feeds, I don't put it on my social networks. I kind of keep it to myself, but I just feel so I feel so moved to share my opinions because I feel like there's a lot on the line right here in this next elections, and everyone has their perspective, and I just would like to share mine. And I feel like I come from a different place and perspective than most people do because I was not born here in the United States. So I'm going to kind of tell you my story a bit. My parents escaped from Hungary in 1956. I was just a baby. I was an infant. And the uprising started. My father was a student at the University of Budapest, and he was part of the uprising. My father did not want to live a communist life. And it was it was obvious, to fight them. It was, Russia coming in, and it was just it wasn't feasible for this little country to go up against them is what it is. So if my dad stayed in Hungary, he would have been killed. There's no ifs, answer, but so him and my mother and me, them carrying me, they decided to escape from Hungary. And my mom was 21. I believe my dad was 25. I think he was 5 years older than my mom. And they had to walk almost 50 miles to get to the plane that would take them out of there. In that time, they were robbed of everything they owned, their wedding rings, everything. They had a suitcase, everything was taken from them. And they arrived in the United States, no language, no job, no home, no family, and an infant to take care of. I just can't even imagine that. They were so young. And my mom, 21 years old, very, very, very courageous. Here's the thing, that's what they were willing to do, not to live in communism. I'm going to have to read from my notes because there's so much I want to say, and there's no way I can memorize all the information that I have collected in my head. But I feel very passionate about this, and I think that the perspective is skewed on communism and socialism. So the next time I went to Hungary, I was 18 years old. My grandmother, my father's mother, had not seen me since I was a baby. And it was a very interesting trip. I'd become an American brat. And I think my mom knew I needed to see where my roots were. And when I went to Hungary, soldiers on the streets with guns. I mean, I went to the mall. There were no soldiers with guns, and they in 1970. This was 1974. They're they were like so far behind the times. My aunt did not have hot running water in her home. She did not have a telephone. Me, I had a princess phone in my room, yet almost no one in my family had a phone. I did have an aunt who lived in an apartment, and she did have a telephone, but she couldn't call anyone because no one else had a phone. So that was a very eye-opening trip, and I've been back to Hungary multiple times since then. But here's the thing, Hungary was a communist country for 33 years. They didn't get to go in 4 years. Oh, we want to take a vote and not have this anymore. No, that's not the way it works. They were dominated, and honestly, I really don't know all of the history behind how that unraveled. But honestly, they unraveled from communism to socialism, which is just like one step down. Neither one of these, to me, are ideal. They look good on paper, but in reality, communism and socialism are really not joyful ways of living. The government is in control of everything. So, medical. People think, "Oh, I want medical. I want this medical for everyone." When you have it on that socialized basis, people think it's going to be so great. Well, let me tell you, even now in Hungary, now, okay, their hospitals look like you walked into the twilight zone from the 50s. They do not have superior health care. My aunt was very, very sick, and my cousin, who's well to do, they had to grease the doctors to get care for my aunt who was very, very ill. So glamorizing that and making it medical care for all, that really does not work. There should be choices. There should absolutely be choices. And here's what I believe. I believe the liberal left is moving towards socialism. They want more control, severe regulations, unreasonable mandates, and they're trying to censor free speech, thoughts, and ideas. And when they start messing with that, oh boy, that's not good. You really don't want to lose your freedom of speech, and you do not want to lose your capability of expressing yourself. That's the beauty of this country, and it should not be taken for granted. And honestly, I believe that it is. Journalists no longer report factual information, they spew a narrative mandated by mega media corporations. They have demonized Donald Trump to be like the Antichrist. They've done that to him. They want people to believe that he's a bad man, that he wants to be a dictator. These things are false. These things are absolutely false. They want you to despise him. They want you to believe he's a criminal and an existential threat to society. And they're working hard at this. They really have. And when you're watching CNN, MSNBC, all these channels, that becomes the facts of life, and no one's changing the channel. And that's just a little bit scary to me because they're not seeing another narrative to see if there's another side to the story. Because we all know there's two sides to a story. So the bogus lawfare that turned bookkeeping misdemeanors into a targeted federal crime and all the false accusations have not worked to prevent Trump from the presidency. I can't help but wonder who is behind these assassination attempts. There's also two BS impeachments and the J6 incident, which many believe were orchestrated by corrupt politicians on both sides. It was both Democrats and rhino Republicans. I'm going to say that because not everyone knows what a rhino is. They did everything in their power to ruin Trump. That's what they want. They want to ruin him. To they want to annihilate him, and they're going to great extremes to do that. They do not want Donald Trump to open Pandora's box because you know what? I believe there are very ugly secrets that nobody wants divulged, and that is on both sides of the aisle because Donald Trump is not a career politician. He's a businessman that came to the plate to help our country. And anyone who takes the time to research hardcore facts will see when Donald Trump was the president, our country was thriving. The border was under control. There were no wars. There was no inflation. And we were prospering as a country. And there was all this mayhem now, and there's all this money going to another country when our country needs it desperately. Just like Hungary, that's a little tiny country and they're going up against Russia. It's never going to pan out, and we're putting billions of dollars into this. It makes no sense. And then on top of that, the illegals coming into our country that just pouring in, they're getting food allowances, housing allowances, they're invading our cities, our towns. This is wrong. This is wrong. They have, they can shut down the border. They choose not to. That's got to sink in. Look at what's happening. And the border, was so more managed well when Donald Trump was the president. Now it is grossly out of hand, and they keep pouring in constantly. How are all these people going to be cared for? This is going to come out of my pocket, your pocket, our kids' pockets. It's really something that needs to be really thought about carefully. Here's what I believe. Trump is a powerful negotiator. If you look at him and see from the time he was the president, he has changed. He is a different man because of our country. As he traveled through the United States doing these rallies, he was moved by the American people, and he's motivated by the American people. And he is feared by other countries. He is strong. He's got a backbone. He's not one to be contended with because he means business, and he took care of business when he was the president of the United States. He wants our country to produce more goods. He doesn't want us to be dependent on China. I don't want to be dependent on China. They want to dominate the world, and I don't want to be part of their domination. I hope you don't want to be a part of that either. One thing I am certain about, he does love this country. Donald Trump loves the United States of America, and he loves the American people. And when you see him, he goes to these memorials for the veterans. His heart is breaking for those families, and he truly cares about the veterans. I get emotional because you know what? I feel bad that he's so demonized. It's wrong. It's wrong what's happening in our country. It is, I have, when I go back to Hungary, and it's of course not bad as it was, but it's my family does not have the life I have here. They don't have that in Hungary. And I have a lot of family in Hungary. My mom was one of six girls in her family. There's only two of them left. And my mom's 90. She's amazing. My mom's so amazing. Now, here's the thing. Robert Kennedy, he's behind Trump. Tulsi Gabbard, she's behind Trump. And so many more people have come to see that he is honestly our hope and salvation, not to turn into a socialist country. This is not something that will work. I think a lot of people believe it will work. Oh, they're going to do this for us, but it's all lies. And if you know anything about Cuba, and how Cuba was during Castro's time, those people lived horrifically. I had a very good friend in Los Angeles, Armenia, and she told me the stories of how their lives were ruined by this man. They took everything, and the higher ups, they get it all. They get all of this. It doesn't filter down to the people. That is not the way it works. And you really need to investigate more. Go to another country, go to visit a socialist country, and then tell me how glamorous and great it is. Because I don't think people really understand truly what communism and socialism is really about. It looks, as I said, it looks good on paper, but it's terrible in real life. So we have a choice this election. And the choice is not just Democrats versus the Republicans. This is socialism versus free enterprise, freedom of speech, and the freedom to live your best life. So before you go and vote, please do some more research and go outside of your regular parameters. Many independents are, they are on the fence, like, oh my gosh, we're not sure what we want to do. Go do research. Go do research of what's been taking place. Look at our country right now. The inflation, the cost of the grocery store. We have 3 bags and it was $110. The gas keeps going up and down, and we've used our reserves. That's not good. That's really not good. So I urge you, please just do research. Don't take my word for it. Do the research and make sure that you know what it is you're voting for, because I just don't know what will happen to us if the other side wins and continues on the path that we're on, because it's just going to break. The money, they can't keep printing money like it's monopoly money. We won't make it. So please, please, please do the research, search your heart, ask friends, and do the right thing with making a conscientious choice in this very, very important election on November 2nd, 2024. Please vote. Your vote counts and it matters. Thanks. I appreciate you tuning in. I'm Augie Anderson, the host of the Boomer Bites podcast, and I really appreciate your support and tuning in. And I'm still, by the way, I'm still learning. If you've seen any of my other podcasts, they might look goofy because I'm still learning all the mechanics and the technical aspects of producing. So I appreciate your patience and your love and your kindness. I'll see you in the next episode.